Alright guys, welcome back for another video on Jojo's Bizarre Adventure, and today I'm going to give a general guide on how to build a character and how freaking expensive it is to actually build a character in this game. And as a result, I'm going to strongly advise everyone to start picking just a few limited characters and start min-maxing them, because I just feel like in the long run, especially for free-to-play players, that should be the right strategy to go after. Okay, but let's start off with just a general overview. So if we go to your character tab, characters page, there are going to be 4 different tabs. The last tab is not actually unlocked right now, so I'm going to skip here. I haven't actually played on closed beta before, okay? So I don't actually know exactly what this one is going to be like. So I'm only going to cover the first 3, which I have unlocked. Now, the second and third tab, those are more like equipment, so they're not actually tied to character. You can freely invest in them and unequip them, and then basically equip them onto somewhere else in the future. So those are a bit of a safe investment in my opinion. Now, it's still expensive, even though I say it's safe, it's still expensive. Now, to actually get the red rarity with the highest rarity for this is just RNG. I feel like eventually you should be able to get loads of them, but to actually level them up, it feels like it's actually going to be quite expensive, so that's something for you to bear in mind. Now, in terms of how you actually want to choose what you want to do with this dramatic thing or memories, you just have to bear in mind that the lower rarity doesn't give you any set bonus. You only start getting set bonus if you have the ones with yellow background or with a red background, and you can see their skill effect as well. The 2 set effect is always very basic. The 4 set effect is obviously the strong one that you want to go after. So how do you choose this? It's going to be very simple. Take a look at what type of character they are. A lot of times it's going to be very easy to tell. For example, this one's clearly for range, right? When you have a attack from distance, this one is clearly going to be more like just an ultimate based. Then you also have certain ones which are very obviously to do with healings. I think this one, yeah, to do with healing. So it should be actually very, very easy for you guys to tell what set of dramatic scenes that you want for each of the character. And once you decided that, just try to go for 4 set of that with the highest rarity you have. There are going to be some substats that you can potentially cherry pick as well if you do actually have a range of the ones to choose from. Early game, you guys probably don't have that many to choose from anyway, so just go for the set possible. Try to go for as many 4 sets as possible. Okay, so that's basically the dramatic scene. And then the next one, we have the badges. This one, I'm not too sure how to actually get the highest rarity. I feel like it's something we can only unlock eventually later on. But if we go into the forge section, what you're going to see here is there are going to be 3 different ways of forging the badge. The first one gives you a random rare or superior. This one's 2 RNG based, and vast majority of the time it's going to be rare, so I don't recommend this. Instead, what you should try to go for is a set craft. Now, this does require additional resources as well, but you can actually get that from quite a few different stores, so it should be okay for you to get this. But the whole idea of getting this is that eventually what you're going to see is that all of the epic badges, if you actually take a look at what they're able to offer, they're just able to offer a lot more different type of benefits to the character, whereas if you have the lowest rarity ones, it's literally just a straight stat buff. Okay, it's not really going to give you any additional effect. So that's kind of why you want to go for a set of epic badges if possible. Now eventually you obviously want to upgrade to the legendary badges. However, to actually craft a legendary badges, it requires this kind of blueprint. And it doesn't really say where we can get the blueprint, so I imagine this is something that we will eventually unlock, but as of right now, I'm not too sure where we can get that. If you do know, then do let me know in the comment section. But this is kind of to do with the badges, and once again, you kind of pick the one which kind of goes with the type of role your characters can play. Quite self-explanatory. And those 2, whilst I think it's expensive to actually upgrade them, but like I said, because you can unequip and then transfer them to another character, any investment you put into them, it's not end of the world. Okay, so for me, even though they're expensive, they're safe investment. What does make it actually a lot more tricky to actually invest in is actually the character themselves. And the reason for this is that if we actually go to a character development page, there are going to be 5 different tabs. So starting off, we have the upgrade character tab, and also this third one, which is upgrade ability tab. Both of them seem to require resources, but we seem to get plenty of those resources, at least as of right now. So that's not big of an issue. So I think it's okay. Furthermore, if you actually do reset it, what you can see here is that it's actually free to reset the character before level 65. Okay. Now, then you have the 2, which is going to be very, very expensive, which is the startup character and also startup ability. And essentially, it actually requires you to get dupes. I'll talk about that in a bit, but this is just so expensive. And it basically locks you behind so many different additional effects, which is really annoying. But the other one I also want you to briefly cover is going to be ability boost. Now, it also requires resources for you to level up. However, what makes this one a bit more annoying is that if you do actually put something in and you want to reset it, what's gonna say is that it actually costs you gems for you to actually reset it. So I'm not too sure how easy it is to actually farm this. I don't think it's the easiest thing in the world. However, because there's going to be a cost to actually resetting it, that's kind of why I say it's actually going to be somewhat careful on whether or not you want to invest in them. Okay, so probably you only want to save it on the best character and also the character you know for sure that you'll be using for a long time. Now we move to the elephant in the room, which is the dupes. Okay, this is where the character gets really, really expensive to build. So when you first get a character, so let me take Koichi for example, because I don't have any dupes for him. So what's going to happen is that you are literally only going to have 2 skills unlocked, and then you're going to have 3 passive, which is all locked behind dupes. Now the first one it requires 2 star, which I believe is just 1 other dupe, and then I think the second one you need 2 other dupe, if I'm remembering correct, and this one I think it requires 5. I want to say 5 additional dupe, but I'm not too sure. Something worth double checking. But basically, unless you actually have those dupes to actually unlock them, you're not actually able to get those effects. And essentially, if you are just re-rolling for characters such as Jojo, which I still think is a good choice. However, after I got him, I didn't realize actually my Jojo is only half built because I literally don't have half of his kit. And as a result, he's not actually going to perform as quite well. Because if you actually compare him to some of the lower rarity character, so I'm going to take an R character I have, Bluefoot, which I was using for the world bosses. Now, he's great for world bosses, and if you actually take a look at his stat, because he's an R character, I'm actually able to basically max dupe the character and also dupe a lot of his ability as well, which basically increase his skill level. And then what you are going to see is that if we just take a look at raw stats, because of all those upgrades, he now have an attack of 3.3k and HP of almost 42k. If we then compare this to Jojo, who's an SR character but without any dupe, we are only talking about 3.2k or 3.1k attack and also 38k HP. Okay, so it's actually a lot less. This one defense is 1.2k. I'm pretty sure Bluefoot is probably going to be higher as well. Yeah, 1.3k. So as you can see on the stats level, a low rarity character would actually beat an SSR if they are maxed out. And then obviously on the skill level, he's gonna completely outshine an SSR character because you literally have 3 more skills available. And because of low rarity, you are also then able to actually get the ability dupe as well. So even though each individual skill may be actually slightly weaker than an SSR skill, however, because you're actually able to upgrade the level, the buff you're able to get from an increased level of that skill more than make up for the difference in the base level. Okay, so as a result, a max dupe low rarity character is actually going to be really, really strong compared to an uninvested SSR character. And then if you then consider all of the other things you have to factor in as well, for example, do you actually also want to put some resources to actually, let's say, unlock this one? It just going to get really, really expensive. And then for certain character, SSR character, which have 2 different type of ult. So for example, this one, Bukarati, what you can see is that he actually have 2 different type of ult. So not only, for example, you need to actually get dupes on the character in order to unlock the additional skills. If you actually want to take advantage of the second ult, what's actually going to be required is that you also need to actually get ability as well, so that you can actually upgrade the ability to S1, just so that you can actually able to switch between your ult. So all of those things are going to add up, and what that basically means is that whilst it looks somewhat cheap to just get 1 copy of character, especially right now for if you want to reroll, etc., if you do actually want to get dupes on character, it's going to add up and it's going to be very, very expensive. And you don't want to do this over and over again, because let's be honest, in this game you can only field a team of 5 characters. Now there may be certain modes where you will be switching around the character, etc., but vast majority of the time we're probably only going to be looking at around 5 to 8 characters that we'll be using. You do not really want to have loads of uninvested character if that's gonna be even worse than low rarity characters instead. Okay, and that's kind of why I feel like min-maxing is a key strategy in this game, in the sense that rather than try to go for lots of different SSR character, what you should be doing is that you should be focusing your pool on just probably 3 or 4 character predominantly one character for each of the categories, because remember, if you do actually have 3 characters of different categories in the same battle, you can then activate that rush mechanic for even more buff. So you probably do actually want to get one really good character for each of category, but I certainly wouldn't go any further than that. Now, whilst that sounds really, really simple on paper, right? Min-maxing, focusing on just a few characters, in practice, it's actually going to be a lot harder to do, because obviously you can't really control which character you're actually going to be able to summon. However, there are going to be things which you can control, and those are going to be some of the main things you want to look out for as you do your summon. So number one is that every now and then, I believe there's one at 180, and from what I have heard from other people, there's going to be another one at 300 mark. I'm not sure whether or not that's true in this global launch as well, or only the same closed beta. But basically, once you hit this, what's going to happen is that you then have a choice of an SSL. And I believe this one you can actually choose it. So like what I said before, rather than focusing on a brand new character which you do not have, I strongly recommend you guys to pick a character which you already have and plan to actually invest in. And that can also be said for this novel's recruitment as well. This one have a very short pity, and rather than going for a character, for example, right now I already have Caesar and also Koichi, but rather than going for Abdul, who I don't have, I already know that I would much rather min-max and actually get a dupe on other characters instead, okay? And that's also what I would suggest you guys to do. Now, just on this note of Caesar versus Koichi, both of them are actually really, really good characters, and I also feel like they actually have really strong synergy with each other as well, especially at one dupe. So what I'm actually going to suggest, and that's what I'm doing right now, so I'm actually going to try my luck on pity and see whether or not I understand the banner, to see whether or not I am naturally able to pick up a dupe for either Caesar or Koichi. And then for this other beginner banner, I'm then going to pick the other one so that I can get both of them to one dupe. Okay, so that's what I'm going to recommend you guys to do. And obviously you can get characters randomly from this. And then there's also in the event section, there's this road to hero, character giveaway, which every now and then you also have a chance for a random SSR character. So I actually highly, highly recommend you guys to just wait and see what SSR character you can get, and then use this to drive your decision in the actual recruit section to then realize what one you actually want to pick, because once again you want to min-max and focus on just a few characters rather than many. Now the last tip I would say is to take advantage of the low rarity characters as well, especially in the early game. Because first of all, like I said, a max dupe R character can even outperform an SSR character, but also just simply no cost to actually leveling them up, okay? So if you actually go to the upgrade character and the upgrade ability, any resources you put in, as long as the character is before level 65, you can get all of them back. The only thing I'll probably avoid is this ability boost, because if you do actually upgrade it, it actually costs gems for you to reset it. So I'll probably skip this one, but you can certainly upgrade the character and also upgrade the ability. And then similarly, you can also just put on your best dramatic thing and best badges onto them, and then your low rarity character is completely good to go. And then once you actually have enough copy of an SSR character for you to then make the shift in investment, you can just simply reset them, get all of your resources back, and then just simply put them towards the SSR character instead, okay? So that's what I would personally recommend. And in fact, I will probably say for every single category, there's probably going to be a very good R or SR character that you can use in there. I'll probably do a separate video for that if you guys are interested. But right now, just a quick look. As you guys can see, I actually leveled up a lot of our characters as well, just for testing purposes, etc. And so far, I am actually quite liking a few of the characters I've seen. But I will do a separate video talking about all of the best low rarity characters. But that's basically the whole idea, okay? You want to min-max on your SSR character, and before you can actually dupe them up, just simply use your R and SR character for transition. And once you have actually focused on which SSR character you want to go for, then just simply reset the low rarity, put all of your investment into those ones instead. And whenever you are doing any kind of recruitment where there is a choice, make sure you always go for dupes rather than go for selections, okay? So for the character, it's going to be obvious. It's going to be when you hit this pity. For the ability, it's even simpler. You literally have a choice of 5 different characters you can put. So that kind of also suggests you do not try to focus on more than 5 SSL characters at once, okay? So yeah, so that's everything you guys need to know about character building in a nutshell, and also how to min-max as much as possible in this game. Let me know what you guys think, and also how are you choosing which characters to build.